What's up y'all, Jmaculate here. With Christmas around the corner, I thought it would be fun to do a video about my Sonicware Lofi-12 XT wishlist, the features that I wish this device had. As you probably already know, I really enjoy making music with this device, even without the features I'm going to talk about. But I think adding these would make the Lofi-12 XT an even more powerful tool for making awesome music. Alright, let's get to it. Wishlist item number 1, Slice Mode Enhancements. This device comes equipped with a powerful set of tools for slicing samples. You have a waveform display that you can zoom very far into, and you have a few options for programming slices, like auto chop, even slice mode, and manual chop methods like lazy chopping, where you input the slices as the sample plays back. There are definitely some areas for improvement though. One significant limitation is that you can't chop a sample into more than 15 parts, which can make working with longer samples challenging. There are ways to work around this, like copying your pattern and then setting different slice points in the copied pattern. Or you could parameter lock the start and end points of the sample in various notes of your sequence to simulate playing back slices from more than just 15 points in the sample. Those are both pretty tedious methods though. As an example of the parameter lock method, I've added 4 notes to the sequence, and now I'll hold the numbered step button and turn the C knob to lock that step to a new start point. Ultimately, it would be cool to be able to program more than 15 slices, and then have a feature where you could press an arrow key next to the RVB page to access those other slices, similar to how you navigate up and down the keyboard in pad mode on non-sliced samples. And on the topic of slices, another cool feature would be having a faster way to add slices to a mute group. Currently, to set up a mute group, you have to press the slices pad, then turn the A knob, then press the next slices pad, then turn the A knob again, and do this over and over until you get to the last slice. You can get pretty quick with it, but it's still a time-consuming process. And the worst part is, if you set everything to a mute group, then remove a slice from the slice page, all the mute data will be lost. So it would be awesome if there was a shortcut to add every pad to a single mute group, such as holding down function, then turning the A knob, or pressing the A knob down to activate an all pad control, then turning the A knob to control them all. It would also be a cool way to theoretically control the pitch or level of all the selected slices. Wishlist item number 2, starting playback of the pattern later in the sequence. This device supports creating patterns of up to 128 steps. If you're working with the default setting of 1/16th note steps, that's 8 bars. However, there's currently no way to start playback of the pattern at any point other than right at the beginning, on step 1. This can make it challenging to edit longer sequences because you have to wait for the entire sequence to play before being able to record a take, or hear what your recorded take sounds like. The main way to work around this is to create shorter patterns, and therefore spend less time editing them. But it would be much easier to work with longer sequences if you could start the playback later in the sequence. I imagine it working something like holding down a numbered step button and then pressing play, which would cause the pattern to play starting from that step. Or perhaps some option in the config menu near the length parameter where you set how many steps the track is. Maybe there you could press the A knob down and see the loop settings, where you can choose a specific step to have the track start playing from. So here's how this works on a different sampler, my MPC 2000XL. So on the MPC, you can press the bar right and bar left buttons to move between the bars. It's a little bit hard to see, but it's here in the top right corner. It starts at 1, 1, 0, 0, and then I can move it to 2, 1, 0. And then if I press play, it'll play from the second bar instead of the first. In addition to being able to navigate by bars, you can also navigate by steps. So it allows you to start the playback at pretty much any point in the sequence, which is very handy for sequences that are longer. Wishlist item number 3, undo function for recording. Currently, the only undo functionality in this device is from the step edit menu. Basically, if you press the right auxiliary button, you can revert the most recently adjusted parameter, including restoring a deleted parameter. But it would be great if there was a way to undo other actions, especially ones recorded while the sequence is playing, through real-time input or real-time recording. Currently, if you want to remove notes you recently recorded, you have to either delete them from the steps that you recorded them to, or clear the note data on the track and start from scratch. And as we discussed earlier, for longer sequences, this can be quite tedious. Let's go through a common example, recording takes of a bass line. Unfortunately, deleting these notes from my recent take is easy because they land on steps 2, 6, 10, and 14, right between the main notes. But the way I imagine the undo function working is, for actions like those, you could press play to stop the pattern, then hold function and press clear, and the notes added would be removed. I can also demonstrate this with the MPC 2000XL. On this device, the button that allows you to undo things that you've recorded into the sequence is the undo sequence button. To give you an example, I'm going to record a take where I add some snares to the sequence. Then I'll press the undo sequence button, which will remove all the snares I added for my last take. Pressing the undo sequence button removed those snares without me needing to locate them in the steps and then delete the individual notes. So it's much quicker when you're working with live takes to just press undo and try another one. Wishlist item number 4, loop mode enhancements. You can get some pretty awesome sounds using loop mode playback on the Lofi-12 XT, but you only get basic controls for the loop, a loop start point and a loop end point. And when you have this loop mode enabled, the loop start point becomes the start point for the sample, which makes it hard to work with sounds that start with a pluck or strike, like a piano or guitar. With samples like those, you have to start the loop from a point after the initial strike. Otherwise, the strike will play again when the sample loops, instead of creating a longer, sustained sound. To work around this, you could parameter lock the start point of each note you sequence to begin at the start of the sample, but it's a tedious process. It would be useful if you could have the start point for the sample playback and then have a separate loop start point where the sample begins looping. Maybe by holding down the function button, then turning the C knob to control the other start point. Here's an example of how this works on another sampler, the Black Box by 1010 Music. On the Black Box, there are independent loop controls. They're these white flags that are controlled by the bottom knobs, and then the top knobs control the start point. Speaking of loop mode, another cool enhancement would be bidirectional looping, or ping-pong loop mode. this is a playback mode on other samplers that will start playing the sample back in reverse once it gets to the end of the loop point. Then once it gets back to the loop start point, it plays the sample forward again, like it's ping-ponging back and forth. And here's an example of this working with the slice drum break, which lets me stretch the break a bit by working in a tempo slightly lower than the break I'm using. But the drum break that I'm using seems like it's 95 BPM. So you can hear that the slices end and leave a gap in the playback when I drop the BPM to 88. But here's how the slice drum break sounds when there's a bidirectional loop on it. And here are the slices again, without the bidirectional loop. Wishlist item number 5, auditioning steps that have parameter locks. So this one is a little unique, and it's inspired by a feature on Electron Groove boxes, such as the Digitact or Octatrack. The feature is called Trig Preview. Basically on those devices, you can hold down the step that you're editing, such as how you would when parameter locking, but then if you press the Yes button, it plays the note you have sequenced there, including any changes you've parameter locked to it. So I don't have an Electron Groove box to show you how this works on, but the Dirty Wave M8 has a similar feature that you can use on its sequencer. The way to parameter lock on the M8 is to use these FX columns on the right, FX1, FX2, and FX3. The first effect controls the pitch. The second effect controls the start point. And the third effect controls the degrade, which has kind of a bit crush sound. But the way it's convenient is that you can preview the sound of it even if it's much later in the sequence. So I don't have to start the sequence to know what it sounds like. I just have to press the edit button when I have the note highlighted. So back to the Lofi-12 XT, we don't have a feature like this, so we just have to press play and wait for the sequencer to get to that note that we have parameter locked to hear what it sounds like. Here's an example where I parameter lock the pitch of a few sample slices on bar 2 of my pattern. But it would be much easier to make parameter lock edits if we had a control like Trig Preview. Maybe doing something like holding the numbered step button down, then holding the OK button would play the parameter locked note on that step. Or something similar from the step edit menu for the step you want to hear. So those are just a few of the items on my Lofi-12 XT wishlist. And lucky for us, the good people at Sonicware are definitely committed to improving their devices. The most recent update for the Lofi-12 XT brought some great quality of life fixes, like easier adjustment of pitch for samples, sampling through USB, even slice mode, and a bunch of other great changes. Is there anything you wish the Lofi-12 XT did? Let everyone know about it in the comments. And that does it for this video. Thanks for watching. See you next time.